question is this: what monetary policy measure can be taken to control inflation? What monetary policy measure can be taken to control inflation? The key word in this question is monetary policy. Monetary policy. What do we mean by monetary policy? Monetary policy is a policy taken by the central bank. I repeat, monetary policy is a policy taken by the central bank to regulate the financial activities of other banks in the economy. The other banks we know here, they are the commercial banks. So monetary policy here is a kind of policy used by the central bank of any country to regulate the financial activities of commercial banks. Now, if you look at these options, each of these options directly speak to monetary policy. Option A is wrong because monetary policy has nothing to do with tax. It is a good example of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, as I said earlier on, policy taken by the government to regulate the economy. So it is only the government that can levy tax. It's not the business of central bank to levy tax. Only the government can levy tax. So that makes option A to be wrong because tax has nothing to do with monetary policy. Option B neither belong to fiscal or monetary policy. Discouraging exportation. In fact, it's more of fiscal policy. Option B is more of fiscal policy because government can use tax to either encourage or discourage exportation. How do you think government can use tax to encourage exportation? Government can use tax to encourage exportation by reducing export duties. If government reduce export duties, which is also a form of tax, it's going to encourage local producers to produce more so that they can export to other countries. But if government want to discourage tax, government is going to increase export duties. When we say export duties, these are the taxes levied on exported goods. These are the taxes levied on goods that are to be exported to other countries. So if government increase export duties, it's going to discourage local producers from producing for the purpose of export. So it's more of what? Fiscal policy, not monetary policy. So the answer to this is option C, because bank rate is a monetary policy. What do you mean by bank rate? The rate at which central bank give loans to other banks. The rate at which central bank give loans to commercial banks. So if, as I have said earlier in my previous lectures, if central bank want to encourage borrowing, borrowings from the commercial banks, it's going to reduce the bank rate so that commercial banks can have the willingness to borrow more, so that they can borrow to other members of they can give loans to other members of the public. But if central bank want to discourage borrowing, it means it's going to increase the bank rate. So when it increases the bank rate, commercial banks will have the lower capacity to borrow money from the central bank, and it's going to affect the borrowing public too. The public too will not be able to borrow much because it's going to affect them. So the rate at which commercial banks borrow money from central bank is what we call bank rate. While the rate at which the members of the public borrow money from commercial banks is what we call interest rate. So we have bank rate to central bank versus commercial banks. Then we have interest rate. Interest rate, which is what? Commercial banks. Commercial banks versus what? The customers. Are you getting it now? The rate at which commercial banks borrow money to their customers is what we call interest rate. While the rate at which central bank borrow money to the commercial bank is what we call bank rate. So the answer to this is what? Raising bank rate. When the bank rate is raised, it means it's going to discourage borrowing. And when borrowing is discouraged, it's going to reduce the amount of money in circulation. This is when there's too much of money in circulation that we have inflation. So if you want to control inflation, you have to reduce the amount of money in circulation. So when you reduce the amount of money in circulation, inflation will be put under control, or inflation will be checked. So the answer is option C. Thank you. If you want to reach out to me as usual, you can always contact me on this number 08061621399. I also implore you to subscribe to my YouTube page, Taiwo Mujide. Thank you.